Appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
All right. Yes, everybody. I know. I've been a slacker lately. I've been trying to get the show going. The good news is we got a whole lot of candidates coming up. I've been talking to them behind the scenes. Yes, I'm actually working, getting stuff lined up. I've just, with the holidays, come on, man, cut me some slack. But what we did do is we did reach out and talk to a kind of new podcast in the area, the region, called Disenfranchised Podcast. And these guys are a couple of former Republicans who have decided that they are disenfranchised with the Republican Party. And I know that there is at least some of what they say that we all can agree with. So without further ado, I'm going to get these guys on and we will jump right into it. Keith Cunningham and Travis Gearhart. Now, I do want to say before I get him on, Travis is running for office, but that's not why he's here. He's here to talk about his podcast. We're going to get him on in a separate interview, the way that I do with all candidates, to give them an opportunity to talk directly to you, the viewer. Now, he's a little different because he's got his own podcast. He does that all the time. So we'll give all that information out while we get him on here. But we got Keith, Badunk, and Travis. There they are. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's good to have you guys here. So the way you guys do your show generally, from what I've seen, is you kind of do a sports thing and then kind of national or whatever news and kind of furrow your way down to a little more local. So I figured we'd start with that. Now, I've said before, and I maintain, I'm not much of a sports guy, right? When I was a kid, I was really into sports. I had I went to the Cubs game where they lost 9-1. I had a buddy who was a White Sox fan, and that just happened to be the years that they sucked. So it seemed like whatever team I followed, with one exception, they were always awful. And when I was a kid, I lived in Louisiana, so I was a Saints fan, and there for a long time, they were abjectly awful. So I just kind of distanced myself from sports, with the exception of the 80.
You know what it's like to be a Bears fan or a Cowboys.
Yeah. I was about to say, when the Bears went to the Super Bowl when I was a little kid, that was it. That was the only time that I watched, and they did well. But let me get you guys to react to something. First of all, it's a little bit of a funny clip, and it's on TikTok. My wife has a TikTok addiction, and she insists on sending me this stuff. But let's get you guys' take on what this guy says.
Wait, where's Indiana?
They'll probably getting the shit kicked out of them by Oregon.
Didn't Indiana kick the shit out of you?
Didn't Miami kick the shit out of you?
Hell yeah, I went BTA with it, son. Touche.
Indiana's a basketball school. The last team I'm scared about playing.
Damn it, I said quack for me, boy! Quack, quack, quack.
What the hell was that?
Should we call PETA? What the happened to you? Where you at, boy? Come quack! Oh, shit.
Where's my little duckling?
Please don't tell him I'm down here.
Shut up, I'm coming down there with you.
Where is he?
Look, everybody else can be scared of you, but I sure as shit ain't.
Well, you probably should.
I should. You're Indiana. Let me get score of your game versus Oregon. What? 27-24?
56-22.
Oh, sweet. He's like 23, and that's like not allowed. So, right? Like,
Says who? Oh, shit. You're next. Coach Sig's about to smoke your shit.
That is accurate of exactly how that has gone.
Yeah. Okay. That was kind of what I thought.
That's what makes Indiana such a good story.
Yes.
And that was one thing my wife said, is they're a basketball state. They're known for, they're bad, the Hoosiers, etc. But in this particular regard, now here's a little more of a hot take, same subject. Sorry, let me get this restarted. Here we go. All right. Now, not a sports guy, so I don't know that much, but you guys will probably recognize most of what's going on here. Here we go.
We've reached the point where this is truly out of hand. Cignetti is making the best teams in the country look like absolute fools. Oregon was the latest victim in the way of Indiana, where they just won 56-22 last night. Belt to ass. Before that, it was Alabama, 38-3. Belt to ass. Before that, it was Ohio State, which they won 13-10. I heard a lot of people calling this year's Ohio State team better than last year's national championship winner. Not belt to ass, but Cignetti still got that way. What Cignetti has done at Indiana is the most impressive thing we have ever seen in college football. This is more impressive than anything Nick Saban ever did. Indiana is beating these teams by an average of 30 points per game. To give you a perspective, Joe Burrow's LSU team is beating teams by an average of 26.5 points per game. And there's a lot of people who consider that the greatest team of all time. I don't know if this team is better than that LSU team, but I feel like they could be at the same table. When Saban got to Alabama, Alabama still had won the national championships before he got there. It had just been a little while. Saban also consistently got the best players in the country, 4 and 5 stars galore. Indiana was the losingest program in college football history, and this year's team has 0 5 stars and only 7 4 stars on the entire roster. All of that, and they might be the most dominating team in recent memory. The job Cignetti has done this season, and the fact that he just did it in 2 years, shows he is the greatest hire in college football history. And I don't think it's particularly close. Indiana's favored by 7.5 points in the national championship, which kind of feels disrespectful. Like, does Miami even have a chance here? Let me know what you guys think in the comments and follow.
Yeah, we recorded earlier. Listeners of ours will hear this take again, a second time, and I don't think that's that big of a deal because I think that's fine. But like we were talking about it earlier today, and the thing about it was that we wouldn't be surprised is if when you've got the Raiders having the number 1 pick right now. So the number 1 pick is going to be that quarterback. You guys know his name off the top of your head, Keith? I forget.
Fernando Mendoza should be the number 1 pick to the Raiders. Yes. And from what I heard, Raiders ownership might be reaching out to Curt Cignetti, which is possible. I don't want to see it. There are coaches out there that they aspire to make it into the NFL, and then there's some coaches that would rather be part of the developmental process. And I'm not sure what his salary is, but I think it's up to $8 million a year.
Yeah,
not too bad for a college coach.
That's a lot of money. That is a ridiculous amount of money. Now, the big hot take, and people were kind of going back and forth in the comments, the big hot take is him comparing them to LSU, the huge LSU kind of.
Well, I think the difference on that is the quarterback, Joe Burrow, for LSU. If I remember correctly, he was an Ohio State quarterback that transferred to LSU, and he was always a big name quarterback in college, to where Mendoza is not a big name quarterback. But I think if you look at like Division II, Division I, if you're playing at those levels, you're a pretty good player. Coming out of high school, you're pretty good. Look at the Bears backup quarterback. I can't think of his name offhand, but he's a Division II quarterback in the NFL, and when he does get chances to play, he doesn't look half bad.
Yeah.
Nice. So would you agree then that this current, I guess, season of IU is at least on par with the LSU?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what other metric do you need? I mean, he kind of to me, at least, he really lays it out. You don't have to, because I don't watch nearly as much college as Keith does.
Right.
But with what I know about college football and how much I do follow, I mean, those metrics right there, the number of 4-star versus 5-star, being 0. It's that right there tells you everything. If you look at those numbers versus LSU, I think they speak for themselves.
To go from the losingest team in the sport to,
and you have to think too. It used to be SEC was the conference to be in when it came to football. But then what did they eliminate? I think they eliminated the Pac-12, and the Big Ten is now, I don't even know how many teams. It's 2 conferences combined.
Yeah.
the Big Ten is the conference to be in now. You got IU's a powerhouse, Michigan, Penn State. I mean, the SEC. I don't want to say they're falling apart. They're still good. There's still a lot of teams there. But it used to be when you talked about strength of schedule, the SEC teams had more of like a professional caliber strength of schedule, and the other ones were, I don't want to say mediocre, but they didn't play the good teams like Alabama or LSU did.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, guys, we're going to jump ahead. So I noticed one thing that you do is you kind of, like I said, go from sports to maybe national. This is bigger than national news. Okay. This affects the entire planet. Maybe. See what you guys think about this. All right. So you guys heard about the stupid comet, right? 3i Atlas that
Right.
people are freaking out about. Some people are freaking out about it. Most scientists say it's a comet. Like, relax. It's a little weird for a comet, but relax. You guys heard of this AV Loeb guy? Ring any bells? No.
The name
Okay,
sounds
so-
familiar. I've watched a little bit of the 3i Atlas stuff on some YouTube channels. I follow a couple of different like scientific ones where they've talked about how what's been weird about it, but the comet is that it's picked up speed in places where it shouldn't have and stuff like that. So I followed a little bit, but I didn't go super deep dive on it.
Is
so-
the guy you're talking about, was he on Tucker Carlson?
Probably. He's a Harvard scientist. He's an astrophysicist and all that. He knows about this stuff. And ever since the beginning, he was like most people were very much, it's a comet. Yeah, it does weird stuff, but it's just a comet. This guy from day one has wanted it to be aliens. He's the one that was talking about how it's slowing down. Oh, it's speeding up. Oh, those aren't gases. Those are, alien propulsion. Now, here's the weird part. Everything else aside, okay, that was funny. If you guys who watch the channel, you may have seen my buddy Sean and I, we did kind of a dive on this a little bit, talked about it in the past. Okay, but this is new. It says CIA can neither confirm nor deny the existence of 3i Atlas file, hinting at possible threat. What's the source to this? Our favorite conspiracy theorist, AV Loeb. Now, it says here, very much on our radar, and it left the neighborhood, right? In a new Medium post, Harvard scientist AV Loeb pointed out that the CIA hinted at the existence of classified documents related to it, suggesting that it could potentially be a threat to humanity. Quote, it's very interesting that they did not dismiss the existence of documents within the CIA on this matter. He was referencing the CIA's response to a query by UFO researcher / conspiracy theorist John Greenwald Jr.
Well, if it's sitting on Pam Bondi's desk, we'll never see it.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But it is, at least in my opinion, it is interesting that the CIA just goes straight to, like, we can neither confirm nor deny the existence of said documents. Here's the part that I think is at least amusing to me, and that is how hard is it to go, sure, we looked at the possibility that it could come here, but we ruled that out. So yeah, we got documents, but they don't amount to anything.
Well, I have heard on, and this is again another podcast, third party thing, and I have heard some people that have gotten on to Joe Rogan's show and had talked about during the Bush administration. They did a panel. They sat down and they took, hey, what would if we did find out about intelligent life out there, what should be our process? What should be how we handle it, and they ultimately came down to, and said we would have to lie about his existence because we feel like it would be, no matter whether it was an actual national security threat or not, we would have to treat it as such, and people wouldn't be able to handle the information because they deemed people to be too stupid.
Yes.
I would think you're gonna have to help me out on this, Travis, but back when Obama was president, who was his attorney general? He said you never let
Holder.
Holder, you never let
That's
something.
a furious guy.
Yeah, what was that called? You never let a good
Don't
something.
let a good crisis go to waste.
That wasn't Eric Holder though. That was Rahm Emanuel.
Rahm Emanuel. There you go.
He wasn't the attorney general. He was just his press. What was his official title? He was press secretary or something.
Yeah, he was something.
Yeah, he was his second in command when he made that.
Are they doing the same thing here with Three Eye Atlas?
Probably.
They don't want to tell you. They don't want to tell you yes or no. They don't want to tell you anything about it because what if we need you to do this? I mean,
yeah,
that's the way I would look at it.
Yeah. So real quick before we jump in, I personally love conspiracy theories. I love to read about them and learn kind of, I guess, how deep people will get involved with zero evidence of stuff and just be absolutely convinced. Okay. That as the setup, what do you guys think about the potential for the whole alien invasion Black Swan event? I'm sure you've heard that.
Yes, Project Blue Book.
Right.
Or Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you've heard more about that than I have. I don't dive too deep into the alien stuff.
Okay.
This is not, I need to have an actual tinfoil hat that I take.
Yeah, I gotta make one because sometimes.
I think with all of that, anytime that all of these conspiracy theories, I always say there's at least a nugget of truth in all of it. Do I think that there's some CIA document that actually was written where somebody had a general think session and said, here's something we could do? And was it a little bit far-fetched? And they kind of said, whatever, throw it in the file anyways. We got it, I think there's probably something to that. I feel like that one's a tough one though. How much of it is where they're just pumping in fake UFO stories? I have a hard time saying that all of them are fake because I don't know how much you follow John Kiriakou.
Sounds familiar.
He was the CIA whistleblower during the Bush administration for the torture memos stuff. He was the one that exposed the torture stuff. And then he was keyed in on. He has a couple of podcasts, really good if you have some, if you have the listening time during the day. He's got a couple of different podcasts.
He's been on Joe Rogan.
Yep. He's been on Rogan. Okay. He's been on a bunch of them, but he was when he joined. He had said that there's a treasure trove of every year of a lot of now. Of course, UFO could mean anything. Just because they call it a UFO doesn't mean it's aliens.
But I'm going to stop you just really briefly because I do want to tie that into something that you talked about on one of your episodes of your podcast, which was the adjustment of speech. And how we're changing the words and what the words mean, or at least softening, right? George Carlin did a whole bit on changing language. And it ties in because they're changing UFOs. Now it's UAP. Now it's, unidentified aerial objects. They keep changing it because, and this is one of the few things that I actually agree should be changed, because UFO has a negative connotation now. When you say, I saw a UFO, you're immediately, most people, their radar goes off.
Right. They're like an X-Files stuff.
Yeah, exactly. X-Files stuff. So I do agree in that regard. But in most circumstances, the language that we've used for a very long time has been perfectly fine. George Carlin, like I said, did a bit on it and how he talked about how shell shock has now gone to PTSD, and all this other stuff where it's the same thing. Okay. So we're going to talk about something that might put us at odds a little bit, which is the goal, right? Right. I don't just want to agree with you on everything because I want to show.
You can if you want.
Right. So let's talk about Minnesota, right? Okay. The shooting that happened in Minnesota, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about it.
Yes.
I'm not going to get too much into it because I'm a former correctional officer, but I was never a cop. I was never an ICE agent, and I never accidentally on purpose tried to run anybody over either. So
Right.
I can't give either side. But I do find this article interesting because allegedly
the pictures
the Trump administration, I'm sorry.
The picture is interesting. You have a dinosaur in the
That dinosaur is real too. I've been reading a lot of stuff that's actually real because a lot of people thought that it was AI.
Yeah.
And that they're like, look, there's this random dinosaur. And then people were commenting on the stuff on Facebook and TikTok and being like, no, dude, like you drive down that street. That's the dude's like a welder and he just creates cool stuff.
And he makes stuff.
Really?
That's why people initially thought that the whole video was AI generated and fake because it had this random ass dinosaur in the background.
Yeah.
But what basically, I'm going to read the article really quickly, but it says even supporters of the president fear that the administration's approach risks undermining public confidence in the ongoing investigation. The Trump administration's rapid and aggressive response to the Minnesota shooting has prompted quiet concern among some administration allies, as well as former and current immigration and customs enforcement officials. Particular anguish centers around how quickly DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, in public remarks from Brownsville, Texas on Wednesday, insisted that Renee Good, the 37-year-old woman killed by an ICE officer, had committed an act of domestic terrorism and tried to, quote, ram them with her vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Even supporters of the president fear that the administration's approach, within hours, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff had also deemed this a case of domestic terrorism, risks undermining public confidence in the ongoing investigation and expanding the credibility gap between the public and the immigration agency patrolling dozens of American cities. Quote, do I think it's domestic terrorism? Yeah, I do, said a person close to the White House who, like others in the story, was granted anonymity to speak candidly about the sensitive situation and ongoing investigation. Quote, but it might not have been wise to say that at the outset. How, referencing Noem, she said it, I'm guessing. Within 48 hours, another shooting, this time in Portland, Oregon, by a Customs and Border Protection officer, further inflamed outrage as protesters, Democrats, and top administration officials accused each other of fascism and terrorism. The shootings and the eyewitness videos circulating on the internet come amid heightened tensions between Americans and the thousands of federal agents deployed in U.S. cities. Vice President J.D. Vance on Tuesday lamented the threats and attacks ICE agents are under. On Friday, he shared a new video that he implied vindicated the officer in Minnesota by showing his, quote, life was endangered and he fired in self-defense, end quote. Still, the administration's aggressive tactics aimed at ramping up arrests and deportations have brought widespread condemnation amid a growing number of confrontations between protesters and immigration officials who are deployed for crowd control and other tasks the agencies historically don't perform. It has left ICE as the latest and most prominent example of an ongoing national Rorschach test in which Republicans and Democrats watch the same video and claim to see wildly different truths. And some inside the agency worry that the administration's rhetoric will only widen political fractures. I don't know how we recover from this, said an administration official. In Portland, DHS said the agents were attempting to stop an unauthorized immigrant from Venezuela affiliated with Tren de Aragua. Portland police said officers responded to the scene and treated a man and a woman with gunshot wounds, both of whom remain hospitalized. Portland FBI issued an initial post Thursday on X characterizing it as an officer-involved shooting. It was later deleted. When Politico requested the statement from Portland FBI Thursday evening, it characterized it as an assault on federal officers. The incident in Portland appeared to be a targeted operation, but Democrats tied it to the shooting in Minneapolis as another example of the Trump administration rushing to close a case prior to an investigation. Good old Ducky Duckworth said Friday that the administration, quote, can't be trusted, citing a separate case in Chicago from last year. This pattern of shoot first, then lie, deny has to stop, she said. The videos don't lie. The emphasis applied by me, not the article. Moving on. The administration.
I thought it was spot on. Perfect.
Right? The administration official was more sympathetic to the Portland agents because it was a targeted operation. But The official added that it will be difficult for the average American to separate the two closely timed incidents. Now, I'm going to pause the article for just a moment, and I want to push back on that because I think it's pretty clear that when you target specific individuals and those individuals who you are after open fire or drive into you or do the kind of stuff that these people in Portland did, that is easily, I guess, categorized as what it is, whereas the incident in Minneapolis is different. And I think most people realize that. I could be wrong. It says this, going back to the article, quote, "This is highly problematic and not a good look and not something our government should be remotely engaged in," the administration official said of the Minneapolis shooting. When blah, blah, blah. Hold on. There's one particular thing. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So border czar Tom Homan's response was initially more measured, telling CBS News that he wouldn't comment on an ongoing investigation. Smart. He released the statement later on Wednesday, though, saying, quote, "The brave men and women of ICE are heroes. Like all Americans, our officers have a right to self-defense." Full stop. Oh, quote, "Homan had a very mature response and a thoughtful, professional way of dealing with it," said the person close to the White House. I think you can read a lot into that. And then let me see. There's one more. Okay, here it is. All right. So JD Vance said the following, quote, "But the simple fact is what you see is what you get in this case. You have a woman who was trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement officer. Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of a far left who has marshaled an entire movement of lunatic fringe against our law enforcement officers." That was what I wanted to get to. And I wanted to get you guys' take on that as more of a libertarian bent.
Keith, do you want to? We actually spent a fair amount also on this on the show because
your other the most recent one hasn't gone live yet, so I haven't watched it. So
yeah, and that's okay. I just wanted to preface it, just because. Keith, do you want to start out?
I just want to say it first. I don't agree with how they label everything terrorism nowadays. It's domestic, that's domestic terrorism. I think when they put a label of terrorism on it, it's just they're trying to give themselves the okay to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Okay. You and I agree on that. Everything isn't domestic terrorism. Just like, the whole January 6th thing was not domestic terrorism. Nope. It was some people who made some mistakes, some more grave than others, but it wasn't domestic. It was felonies in some cases. It was, bad in some other cases, but.
Well, I would say the case in Minneapolis, that would be obstruction of justice. But since she got shot and killed, they're going to call it domestic terrorism.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't believe she was a domestic terrorist at all.
I think she was probably an asshole.
Might have been an asshole.
And that's kind of what we said on the show.
I said to you earlier, Travis, there's a price to pay to be stupid. Being stupid,
there is.
It costs you your life.
Yeah. And with that being said, it also is not a death warrant, right? It doesn't mean that, two things can be right at the same time. And I really do believe that in this situation, you have a lady that was, showing up, purposely agitating. Whether or not she was paid to do it doesn't really matter that much.
Not really.
Well, I would say if she was paid to do it, the ones that are paying her, those are the domestic terrorists.
That's a good point. That's actually a fair point. And you do make an interesting argument there, because then you're looking at a criminal conspiracy. Because anytime you hire someone to commit a crime, you can be charged as part of a greater conspiracy. And that's what some I would call it far more Trump loyalist claim, right? There are these networks, and in some cases there are. You mentioned the Rothschild banking cabal. the George Soros Open Foundation. All of these things are real. All of these things exist. But just because someone exists doesn't mean they control everything like puppet masters. So
right. They do their best to. And that's again where I said, with all the conspiracy theorist stuff, I do think there's a nugget of truth. I mean, look at the George Floyd riots.
Mm-hmm.
There was people out there that were saying, hey, there's literally pallets of bricks that are being dropped off at these locations. And a lot of it, and I don't remember if it was ever verified, but there was a lot of stipulation that it was being brought there through a George Soros funded means. I don't remember right now. It's been 5 years. I'm just gonna take the glasses off.
But there was videos of the bricks being delivered. I mean, that's like in our next episode that'll be aired, later
tonight, tomorrow morning. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm gonna edit it.
We talked about the taxpayer funded police state. Like I cannot drive in and out of my hometown without seeing a license plate reader on each end. No matter where you go in or out, there's a license plate reader.
Yeah.
Who paid for that? I did. My tax dollars paid for us to live in a cage with no walls.
Yeah.
And now when they drop bricks off to be thrown through businesses' windows, we're supposed to look the other way like we didn't see it.
Yeah. And then on the other side, you have them bringing ICE people in that are not being trained as well as they should. I mean, that's just whether you believe he had the right to do it. Most of these guys, it's pretty common knowledge that they're bringing these guys in and they're not getting the training that they should, because a couple of things, a lot of the documentation I've read is that they tell them, do not place yourself in front of a vehicle. In fact, this guy earlier this year had already gotten himself dragged by putting himself in front of a vehicle. So a couple of things with that. Then JD Vance goes on and makes all you're doing is you're screwing up a jury pool, right?
Well, I want to push back just a little bit. First of all, this officer has been with DH. He's an Iraq war veteran. He's been
for this individual, not okay.
This individual is highly trained. He's been there for 20 years. That aside, though, you're correct. The previous incident, but he wasn't in front of the vehicle in the previous incident. He was at the driver's side. He smashed the window and tried to pull the driver out, as he's legally able to do.
Right. And
the driver hit the gas and drug him. Now, all of these things, I believe, should play in to state of mind, right?
Exactly.
Because the law states that if you are in reasonable fear for your life, that you can defend yourself or others. It's going to be a hard case to take unless there is a tainted jury pool like deep Minneapolis. And that's one reason why I believe the Trump administration decided, no, we don't need the help of local law enforcement. Look what you guys did. Look what you're doing. They're receiving marching orders to just not enforce the law on these people, to let them do whatever they want. Now, the argument can also be made, well, I'm personally of the opinion that the federal government greatly needs to be scaled back, and county sheriffs should be the ones that, I guess, do what they're supposed to do. Speaking of that, I want to jump down a little bit to the state of Indiana, and I want to show you guys something. Now, I've only seen a few posts from this guy, but this is all allegedly because I don't know. But Ken Colbert, I don't know if you guys know him.
I don't.
Okay. But this post I found interesting. It says Lafayette, Indiana, human trafficking. Lafayette police rescued 4 victims of human trafficking. Investigators executed a search warrant of Royal Massage, located at 405 Sagamore Parkway South in Lafayette, and the Kokomo Massage, 3841 LaFountain Street in Kokomo. The search was conducted after 11 months of investigating human trafficking crimes linked to the business owners whose establishments were being secretly used for prostitution. Owners, 39-year-old Deyang Yu of Carmel and 37-year-old Iru Wang of Zionsville, were arrested later in the day. This investigation is still ongoing, blah, 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 blah. This is them. And according to Jill Savage, it says one adult victim was recovered plus provided with proper med, shelter, aftercare. It was a 14-month investigation announced last October. Remains an ongoing investigation. And there's a link if you guys watching, check it out. What I found particularly interesting about this is we actually have here in LaPorte County, one of our county commissioners owns property that she has a leasing company, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a massage parlor that is run out of one of them that has been found to be in violation of the law via prostitution. Now, this place was previously shut down in Porter County, as a matter of fact, moved to LaPorte County, and rents from one of our top county executives. How messed up is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought this was America. No, I'm kidding. It's not shocking. That's, stuff like that, when I get into it a little bit off and on with people that are a little bit older that have had a little bit more of a sheltered, like the typical kind of, white boomer kind of, and if you're not really paying attention, you don't see it. You don't see that, oh, well, that could never happen here. Well, it is happening here. It is happening here. It's happening across the whole US.
Yep.
It's you have daycares in Somalia that are getting fraud. These it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't somehow investing in government fraud of one way, shape, or form or another. All the COVID relief, how much fraud did they discover was involved in that? How many people were getting COVID relief that were from overseas? It's so rampant, and again, the human trafficking side of it is sad and upsetting. And I think, not to turn this into a national news article, but then, you see something like this and then you go, well, you know what, there's a whole treasure trove of files from Epstein Island that we're not allowed to see. And how much of it is related to stuff like this, right?
You're absolutely right, and that's what I wanted to point out before we go to. Well, I'm just going to say real quick. According to the same source, Evansville here in Indiana is ground zero for local not-for-profits aiding and abetting illegal aliens. I actually went out to Springfield, Ohio, when Trump did the whole, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs thing. I went to Springfield, Ohio, and I talked to locals there because, look, I'm a Trump guy, MAGA, right? But right. I don't believe everything he says. I don't take everything he says as the gospel truth. I like to do my own stuff. He's a politician, exactly. Once he got elected the first time, he officially became a politician. So I went out there. I talked to people on the ground. I saw the Haitians. I saw the houses that had been turned from regular houses into 30 cars in the backyard because they're packing them in as tight as they can. I heard from locals who gave me documentation and showed me it's a not-for-profit driven fraud operation.
Yeah. Did you see any cats? Were there any cats out there?
What's that?
Did you see any cats out there?
I actually did not see that many pets.
Oh,
like compared to other areas, I will say that. Now, I did talk to a guy, though, by the way. I might have to upload it again because I'm having problems finding it. But I had breakfast with a number of locals and a reporter from like Denmark or something who was there covering the story. And they went into detail about the things that they have seen personally. I saw some pretty graphic and horrific videos, and I'm like, nah, I can't put that out there, man. Like, I'm not sharing that.
No, when I went to Kenya for a month, about 4 years ago, I worked with a trucking company that actually was originally they were actually Somalians in Minnesota. Ironically enough, they were Somalians, right? And the trucking company was based out of Minneapolis. And so now I look back and I wonder how much, but we did so much work together and we made so much money that they basically, after a year, were like, hey, we want to, and I'd never seen these guys, right?
Yeah.
They kind of had, they had thicker accents. I'll be honest with you. I thought they were Indians. I'd never seen pictures of them.
Yeah.
Just the way that the accent kind of went, I thought they were Indians. And so when they were like, we want to, or Saudi Arabian, maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. And so when they asked me, they said, we want to have you a trip. We want to send you over to the motherland as like a vacation and a thank you. And I was like, okay, I'm thinking, all right, I don't know if I want to go to Saudi Arabia. Like that's kind of, or India or who knows. And I go, well, where's the motherland? They go, Kenya. And I'm like, well, I don't think that's any better. I was like, well, let me think about it. So I looked it up and I my mother did not want me to go. She thought for sure I was going to be killed and but I went and I was glad I went. It was awesome. I was there for a month. I swam in the Indian Ocean. I did a couple of different safaris. Awesome, super great trip. But
every time I talked to you, you told me all throughout school we were lied to. We were told that they live in mud huts over there and it's a shithole.
There's a lot of it is
awesome.
It was awesome. It's very much the rich are rich and the poor are poor. There is no middle class. So the ones that are living in mud huts and in little shacks and they're little shanty towns that are kind of every like nice little area, there's almost like a shanty town attached to it. It's really interesting. So, but there was, if you had money, which we did, they did, I did. So I was able to be in the nice places and I benefited from that. I did see a lot of what does happen when you have, a very top tier percentage of people and a very large, when you have no middle class, possibly the future of America. Yeah. And so, but besides that, my point was though, when I was there, I became Snapchat friends with one of the locals that were on in Mombasa. And he was a guy that rented ski-doos. He rented, we rented some ski-doos. We were out doing, zipping around the Indian Ocean and stuff. And I'm still Snapchat friends with him. And some of the videos that he sends, one of them in particular, it shows there's just the mindset of some of the culture over there. There's a guy kind of sitting there in the water and a seagull kind of just floats kind of close to him. Out of nowhere, he reaches out, grabs the seagull, pulls out this knife, cuts the seagull in half, and just throws the two parts of the seagull in the ocean. And they're laughing. And I dropped my Snapchat, like, what the hell did I just see, Right. But that really is like, you really don't get it. And that's why, again, kind of circling this back around to the whole immigration debate. That's why you should have a lot more thought process on who you're letting in and whether or not you have a culture that's able to do it. And I know that's not the most libertarian thing ever. I get that. Right. I know there's a lot of libertarians that are very open borders. That's one spot where I'm still going to be very, that's not me. I'm not that guy. So, but literally everything else, I'm very, very much, in concurrence. Was that?
I said my light is freaking out over here. I tried to change it and it went. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to leave it alone then.
You're listening to us. You see?
Right?
You feel it all the time. It's everywhere.
Yeah. See, we talked about the CIA earlier. That turned the algorithm on. Now they're
yeah, we're there. Oh, we're on the list somewhere. There's not a doubt.
Here's the thing. I said this years ago, and I fully, absolutely mean it. If you aren't on a list somewhere, you're not doing your job. Like at least some degree of, we better keep an eye on this guy. Then you're way too forgiving of the government. Put it that way.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to zoom in a little bit, contract a bit. This is closer to you guys, as a matter of fact. First of all, the mayor of Portage, Austin Bonta. I'm still not 100% sure how to say his name. I've known him for a few years. We worked together briefly when I ran for state rep, and he's a good dude. Him and the state rep for District 4, Ed Soliday, had a falling out on Facebook online. Are you guys both familiar with the contents of this?
I am. That's actually the race that I'm involved in. So
exactly.
Very familiar with the contents of this.
Yeah. So for those of I didn't get a chance to actually dive deep into it, but I'd like, for the viewers that aren't familiar with what's going on here, I'm just going to give the post that Austin himself put, and it says, this is on Facebook. Austin Bonta says, to say that I'm disappointed by the written response that State Representative Edmund Soliday provided to the media tonight would be a great understatement. This is August 6, 2025, by the way. To start, Mr. Soliday is attempting to claim the text message he sent to me saying, now this is a text message, quote, "I promise I will work hard to make certain your city never gets any revenue increases," end quote, was a personal message. While he did make some sarcastic accusations about me and my views in his message, the threat he made in his text was not a personal threat against me. It was a threat against the city of Portage and its financial security. As I said at Tuesday's city council meeting, if he had made a personal threat against me, such as saying he was going to move to Portage, run against me for mayor, I would agree that such a threat would be a personal one, and I'd never share a screenshot of it at a city council or any other meeting. However, his threat was made against our city's ability to get more revenue going forward, and after much consideration with my team, I came to the conclusion that I would not be being a responsible mayor if I did not disclose a threat like that to the council in public. Secondly, Mr. Soliday is attempting to claim that his text message and the words in it were offhand and not intended literally. But I cannot think of a way that if that were true, he would expect me to know that from reading them. He and I were not engaged in any discussion. He just sent me that text message after he either saw or was told about my Facebook post where I gave my opinion on making reforms to the IURC. Viewers and listeners that don't know, the IURC is the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, whatever it is. Yeah. It's guys that rubber stamp NIPSCO raising your rates all the damn time.
Yep.
To put it simply, this is back to the quote. To put it simply, I don't know how to read. I promise I will work hard to make certain your city never gets any revenue increases in a figurative or metaphorical way. Mr. Soliday never sent me any follow-up messages with any apologies or any attempts at clarification about any part of his message after sending it to me. Not on Monday, July 28th, when he sent his message, and not on any day since then to this present time. I've included both his text message that I disclosed to our city council, as well as the written statement that he gave to the media below after the story made news. I've also included, once again, my July 28th Facebook post that prompted him to send that message to me. And basically, all Austin Bonta did was say what I just said, which is the IURC rubber stamps NIPSCO rate increases. Soliday happens to be in favor of these. Whoops. Wrong one. I'm so sorry.
We're gone. No. See, that was it too. You see, you're not allowed to talk about the government in that manner. They take you down. I thought you were going to go K. Cunningham. I did T. Gearhart. So.
I thought about it.
There it is.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was. My apologies. Anyway, moving on. No, you're good, man. It's just my computer hates me sometimes. It'll work fine until I'm online. Anyway.
I'm Team Ted Kaczynski. I see that.
Yeah, it just happens. So, first of all, I have never seen a more unprofessional way to handle something you disagree with than this. I'm not talking about Austin. I'm talking about Soliday. Than this ridiculous text message to a sitting mayor who happened to disagree with your opinion on something. This is nuts. The dude's 80 years old. I just saw that when I looked up. I was going to get the information so I could post it, and it just, pops up his age. 80. People want to complain about Trump being the president and this and that, and Biden being old, Trump being old. And I'm of the opinion that, mentally he seems there. Talking about Trump, not so sure about Soliday. But anyway, I wholeheartely disagree with the way this even came about. And Austin's always seemed very nice to me. I don't know that much about how he governs, but I've read his posts. I've paid attention to how he's doing the job in Portage, and the people of Portage seem to be a huge fan.
Yeah. Yeah, he cares. You can tell. And again, I've never met the guy either.
Yep.
He seems very young, him and his wife. I think
he's older than he looks.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
And actually, a couple of the guys, when I first got involved with the Libertarian Party, said that they also knew him and they were willing to put me in touch. And they said he'd probably be interested in coming on our podcast. And so I reached out to him once on Facebook. He never got back to me, which is, again, I don't think nothing of it. I'm sure he gets a billion messages. He's got bigger fish to fry. But I am going to try to get him on so that we can also interview him on ours. And I also want to interview him because, I want to talk just about that, but especially as somebody then that is running, because of course, again, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on my own campaign because that's not what this is about.
No, I'm going to pop it there. You guys can go to TravisGearhart.com to learn more about his run.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And then he's going to be back on the show. We'll figure that out. He'll come on solo and we'll talk about him as a candidate and his beliefs. We'll cover all of that, but go ahead.
Yeah. And so like I said, without trying to get too much into the actual race, it's kind of people like Soliday. And there's plenty of Democrats in the other side too. I always want to preface it with that. They're one of the main reasons that we became independents and libertarian and stepped away from the political system. Because like Keith, really highlighted on the last show, not this past one, the one before, he's like, we want to clarify, this isn't just like, oh, screw the parties. He goes, this is the way that the whole thing is set up is bonkers, right? It hasn't worked for a while now. People are just starting to figure, honestly, I love my kids, not just because they're my kids, but because their generation of, my son's almost 17, my daughter's 14, and they are so out of this, that this new generation is coming up and just don't care. They are not going to deal with the same crap that we put up with because they don't have anything to look forward to. There's a good chance that none of the three of us see Social Security. You know what I mean? By the time it's bankrupt, but there's a zero chance that they will, right? They have zero. The American dream is very different looking to them, and
there's a zero chance that they'll see it. There's also a zero chance that they'll fund it for us.
That's exactly it. They're not going to do it. They're not going to sit there and take the same crap that we have over the years, and so. It's always encouraging. Like, why wouldn't he share? Well, that was a personal text message. Yeah, personal text message showing that you're an asshole.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Why wouldn't you share that? You know what I mean. Why would you say that if you don't mean
it? Exactly. Why would you say that?
Well, I'm curious now that the Democrat running for that position. I don't even remember. Kamanakis, I think his name is. He's kind of hit the ground running. Travis, you're hitting the ground running. Nothing out of Soliday. Is he going to run again?
I think they're trying to talk him into not doing it. If I was a betting man, who's the new Porter County Republican chair? Oh, his name. I know it's not Simpson anymore. Simpson's been out for a minute.
Yeah, he retired.
Whoever the new chair.
Nathan Aldrich.
Yes.
Nate. Yeah. Who I also met, and it seems like a very nice guy.
I don't have anything negative to say. I'm just, I'm just
smart dude, man.
Yeah. I've heard that he's a nice dude. I don't, to me, it's nothing super personal, except for the stuff that we don't, because we don't mind sharing receipts. If there is something super personal on our show, we'll say, yeah, this person screwed this person over. We're having some fun with it.
Right. I noticed that. Yeah. You guys are, burn it.
We'll do it. There's no reason not to.
I've heard
he might be very nice, but if I was him, I would be trying like hell to get him to not run.
I've heard from a few people that they think that is the best part of our show when we're talking about things that me and you have done that nobody knows.
Oh yeah. We got a guest coming on that was really involved heavily in politics on the Democrat side, and he was down in DC, and he's from the region initially, and he got put on, one of the main things we're going to talk about with him is that he got put on this website that is ran by Republicans down there as like a do not hire website. And there's his picture and his information where he's at. They dox him, and that's the really kind of slimy, shady underbelly side of it is. I had a place where I got let go of that was very very involved with the Republican Party, and again, it's one of those you can't prove nothing.
Right.
But there were a lot of job interviews for about a year there because I went ahead and challenged my unemployment, and I went ahead and made him look like an idiot to the judges without even a lawyer.
Yeah.
I had all the receipts, I had all the info, got my unemployment stuff settled down, and then I spoke out against him. And there was several people that sent me emails. Simpson was one of them. And that's not anything negative against him. I like Mike, I really do. Yeah. But he sent me an email and saying like, hey, you can't be talking about these guys.
Say hi to Mike, by the way. He does watch the show.
Oh, hi, Mike. Yeah, I like Mike. But there was several people that sent me a message about that former employer that was like, oh, you can't. They're gonna file. What is it? What's the term when you're saying something negative about
defamation
or defamation of character?
Oh,
and I'm like, dude, I'm not saying anything that's not true. And again, you can only prove so much. But there was a lot of jobs there for about a year, and I suffered because these people tried to, ended up making it political. And I will absolutely hold that against them. And I'm not going to say who they are on this show, but it's
right. I mean, feel free, but I agree with you wholeheartedly in one aspect. And it's one reason why I personally took so long to get involved in politics is because once you pick a team, that's it. You're locked out of anything and we've gotten so polarized. Here's an example, right? And this kind of calls back to the earlier discussion we were having slightly. And that is, or I should say the discussion that you guys were having on one of your recent shows, which was regarding the masks and the way that they are trying to outlaw masks in public gatherings, but ICE agents can wear masks. Okay. So with that in mind, though, these people are doxing ICE agents and they're going to their homes and they're causing grief to their families who have nothing to do. The same thing happened when Trump ran the first time. They were tracking donations. If you gave money to the Trump campaign, holy crap, you were called every name in the book. People did this, people did that. And at least with my family, when I decided to run for office, especially as a Republican, I filled them in. I said, all right, look, here's what's going to happen. Here's what I'm planning on running for office. And you guys have to be prepared for this. I want to check with all of you and make sure, you're good with that.
Yep.
And thankfully everybody was on board. But that's why a lot of people, good people from both parties, the entire spectrum of people maybe want to get involved, maybe want to go out and do something, but they're afraid of the consequences, not for themselves, but for their families.
Yeah.
I had, as a matter of fact, when I ran for state rep in 2020, I think it was 2020, my son was standing there holding a sign and people threw a bottle at him. My kid. Oh, bruh. Dude, these people are extremely lucky there was no camera footage that I had access to because I would have tracked them down. I mean, that's my kid,
Yep.
And luckily he sidestepped, wasn't hurt, but that's the kind of craziness that's going on out there.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And I mean, when we both got involved in politics on the Republican side, you're right. We had people that, I had as friends forever that all of a sudden just, I'm sure you had some of that too, Keith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They just, all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, you're not, no, well, we're not, oh, you're a Republican. Ah, geez. Yeah. And to be fair, that happens on the Democrat. That happens on both sides.
It does.
It really does. And that's not.
You ever have anybody did you have anybody that broke contact with you because you were a libertarian now? Did they go, oh my God, you're one of those crazy libertarians. I can't talk to you anymore.
Kinda. Yeah, there was a what's that?
You're all about open borders. We got one guy I work with that does some shit all the time.
Yeah, we'll clarify that during your interview. But
Yeah, there was some. There was some like
society.
little old lady Republicans that kind of just took me off of Facebook and stuff. But that's fine. I would rather have that be the case than not. You know what I mean? That's fine. If you are really that worried about it at this point, like if you are going through your life at this point and you have lived through let's just use the last two administrations. Let's go with Trump and Biden. If you have gone through both those administrations, which you could easily go through and talk about shortcomings in both of them, multiple areas, and you still are able to sit there and say like, hey, this is the good team, this is the bad team, then, well, you know what, then you're, and that's nothing against you. I know you're still hanging with the R's, and I get that. That's fine. Me and Keith can't do it anymore.
Right. And I understand and I respect it. And that's the difference that I've seen with, I guess, the diehard team people is they don't even want to attempt to have a dialogue. And that, I've seen it on both sides for Republicans and Democrats that don't even want to talk to someone, don't even want to have a discussion, don't even want to, like in this format, discuss some national news, local news, whatever, because this person is on the quote other team.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. We're all neighbors. We're all, of the same ilk. We just have a different idea on how to get to places. And you talked about the need for a third party, or at least a dilution of the two wings of the same bird mentality that we have. And I don't disagree. One of the most heartbreaking things that I've seen is, regardless of administration, regardless of who's running things right now, which team is in the lead, who controls Congress, who controls this, the same shit is happening. The same stuff. You brought up the Epstein files. That's a sticking point for me because, dude, you promised. You fucking promised.
Yep. It wasn't even
like out in the cold. I fucking door to door for you.
Yep.
To get people out to fucking vote, because we're going to expose these POSs. We're going to get these people who have been preying on our fucking children.
Yep.
And it's a gigantic racket. The entire thing is a racket. And I knew when they released that fucking binder, that press gotcha with the conservative podcasters, and it's a big ass binder, and it's all bullshit. It's all redacted garbage or stuff that's already been out there. I knew at that point, I'm like, yep, here we go.
Yep.
And the reason, in my opinion, I want to clarify that, in my opinion, the reason why it's even a national security issue is because we have foreign influence controlling this country, which you guys talked about previously. I've discussed it. I'm not one of those people that, I'm a Republican. Yeah. I'm a Christian, etc. But I don't believe just because someone comes from a particular country that they're immune from criticism. And I don't care whether it's Somalia, Egypt, Israel, Palestine, or any of them. When people control our politicians, they're not working for us.
Nope.
Definitely
not. I got that little rant.
At the very least, AIPAC should be registered under what do you call that?
Foreign registered as a foreign lobby.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. And if you look, as a matter of fact, oh my God, it's been years, but there was actually a congressman from Gary who tried to make that happen. He called him out on the House floor, and it's in the congressional records now. He talked about how they mobilized people and funneled a bunch of money into his opponent. You guys should check it out. It was very interesting.
Do you happen to remember who that was? He didn't mysteriously die in a car accident, did he?
He lost his re-election because they kept funneling more and more money into getting him out of there. It's really interesting. I'll have to look. Like I said, I'll have to look it up. I've got I did a dive into it. We pulled up the congressional records and look it up. It was, I want to say, in the early 90s, maybe. It might have been even before then. It might have been, but anyway, he was the representative from the Gary area. I think District 1, even maybe. No, I'm sorry. I think it was from Chicago.
Okay.
But anyway, either Northwest Indiana or Northeast Illinois. It's been a couple of years now since I covered it. But it was fascinating. There's a lot of information he gave. Like, he spilled the beans, and it was very interesting. He brought receipts too.
Well, have you ever read the Israel Lobby?
I have not.
By Mearsheimer. It's I would recommend. It's on Spotify Premium. If you do Spotify, it's an audiobook. I do a lot of driving, so I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Right.
It's really interesting because it's not even, and they start off. This was written in like 2016, 2014, something like that. And it started off as a op-ed for the New York Times, I believe, and they ended up flushing it out into a full book. And it's crazy. The way we give our funds to Israel in the form of a one lump sum loan that we then forgive. And the reason that we do that is that we actually have to borrow money from ourselves in order to pay them. So they do it that way so that they can collect interest on the money that we give them. And so we don't have to have congressional oversight for that money. The way that they get around that is because it's technically a loan that we then forgive. So there's all kinds of stuff like that that's in it. And again, it's insane. It's insane that we still allow it. It's insane that it happens. It's insane that America is that we fold to foreign entities like that.
It's nuts, man. It's absolutely insane. And my friend Sean, who comes on, we do like Supreme Court hearings and stuff like that. He's one of the guys who believes that, I guess Israel can do no wrong, and fine. That's your opinion. That's fair. We disagree on that, but we're not going to sit here and, scream.
Yeah. You're not going to spend 3 hours rehashing the same argument.
Right. Rehashing the same stuff.
I get that.
But he does agree that they should not be in control of our government.
Right.
But yet they are. I'm looking for it. This was, let's see, in the 90s. Gus Savage from Illinois. Yeah, his name is Representative Gus Savage. March 28th, 1990. Yeah. Here, I'm going to. Calls pro-Israel lobby un-American. Gus Savage of Illinois. Dude, at the ads, bruh. People wonder why we get ad blockers. This is insane. Stop it. All right. So he, in a speech to the House, Savage boasted of his March 20th primary victory in his overwhelmingly Democratic South Side of Chicago district. Illegally affiliated and un-American, he called it. He was a 10-year veteran congressman. He was criticized but not punished by the ethics committee for alleged misconduct with a female Peace Corps worker in Africa.
Oof.
Again, no. Here's the thing. I don't know. Alleged. They never proved anything. In America, we're innocent until proven guilty.
That is true. And that's also true. If you want to talk about that, how often is stuff like that? How often does stuff like this come up? And you find out afterwards that it was when they went over there for an Israeli retreat, stuff like that. And that's where, again, bringing it kind of in with the whole Epstein file, that's I truly do believe that is part of the issue. I think that it was, if it wasn't flat out extortion, it's at the very least the government and the CIA, often probably coupled with Mossad, because Epstein's was tied to Mossad. Right. God, he had a temple. He had an Israeli temple on his island of where he molested children and trafficked children.
Yeah, his
No,
partner.
I'm not drawing any conclusions here. I've never been, I'm no neo-Nazi. I'm not marching in the streets with a Ku Klux Klan hood on or anything like that. But you know what, man? Sometimes if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck.
Here's the thing. I don't give a shit anymore. Yeah, call me whatever name you want. You want to call me anti-Semitic, whatever. I've been called a hell of a lot worse. When I ran for office, I got the most disgusting texts or, messages on social media simply because I ran as a Republican. I was called every name in the book. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Call me what you want.
Right.
Dion, you're starting to sound like you're disenfranchised.
Yeah, just a little, right? It's one of the reasons why it appeals to me. Because look, and I was asked, why are you running as a Republican when, you may not necessarily agree with everything that the party does? Because if you read the foundation of the Republican Party, I agree with what's written down. I agree with the foundation that we are faith, family. I agree with all of that. Unfortunately, the party itself, I do believe, has been compromised. The same thing with the Democrat Party.
Yep.
And this goes to one of your episodes where you guys talked about people being precinct committee people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. I'm a precinct committeeman. My wife is. We're gonna try to be a delegate. We're part of the reason why Micah Beckwith is lieutenant governor, which we can revisit on another. I
was a precinct committeeman for the longest time.
For you.
Then I was removed for some unknown reason.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
So I got a couple of more quick news things I want to cover. And then we can just chit chat. So I don't know how much you guys have paid attention to what's kind of going on in LaPorte County.
No, you were saying a little bit earlier about that.
So so we got a whole lot of weird stuff happening here. I'm going to stick to this. I could go up and do a whole big rant, but I'm not going to. So one of the things I am credited, by the way, I would like to say this. I am credited as being the sole reason why the current prosecutor is the current prosecutor. The previous prosecutor was John Lake. Now, I had my concerns with him. I wasn't a big fan of him. The current prosecutor, Sean Fagan, he came on my show, as I invite everyone to come on to my show. If you're a candidate, come on, meet the public, right?
Right.
But according to John Lake's wife, I'm the reason why Sean Fagan got elected. Okay, cool. Whatever.
What's wrong with you?
Well, yeah, right. So he's a Republican, but there have been some issues in the office recently. One of which being that he replaced his chief deputy. Now, his former chief deputy was Chuck Watterson, who ran for judge in the previous election. And he ran in the primary. He didn't win. That's okay. Boom. Went and, continued on being the chief deputy at the prosecutor's office. Well, I'm just going to read the post. Now, this is directly from Chuck Watterson's Facebook page. And it says here, this was January 8th. There has been a lot of misinformation about how I left the prosecutor's office. Long story short, I was fired for telling Sean Fagan that I was running against him. I loved my job and did not want to leave. Now, here's where it gets particularly interesting. 3 months ago, Fagan and I had a conversation where he told me that he would be running for Superior Court number 3 judge. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that position.
Okay.
Superior Court number 3 judge. Okay. Back to the quote. We agreed that I would run for prosecuting attorney. I started investing my time in preparing for the campaign, designing signs, website, Facebook, logos, etc. Fast forward to Christmas time, and Fagan tells me that Guy DiMartino, remember that name, is running for LaPorte Superior Court number 3 judge, and that he is backing out of what we discussed and going to run for re-election. I was shocked and completely caught off guard. He asked if I was still going to run for prosecuting attorney, and I told him yes. I was given a few weeks to think about my decision. On December 29th, 2025, Fagan called me into his office and proceeded to lay out his plan. His plan was to run for re-election and then give me all the responsibilities of the office, something I had already been doing for 3 years, on top of a full high felony caseload. Then he would ride off into the sunset in 2030. Quote, "You as my right hand is our best way to beat John Lake." End quote. Still from the article, the post, I decided that I was still going to run. I had to for the good of the office and the county of LaPorte. The county and the office could not endure another 4 years under him. I was fired on the spot for doing what we agreed to months prior. Moments later, I was offered a part-time position, making roughly 25% of my then current salary. I declined and found the offer wildly disrespectful. Since then, I have started my own private law practice and am in full swing of the primary election campaign season. I did not want to lose my job as chief deputy prosecuting attorney. I truly love what I do, and in no way would this decision to run for office have affected my work. I am still heartbroken for the victims and families of victims that were involved in my pending cases. I hope the next chief can take care of the staff and deputies with the same level of care I did. They deserve to show up to work every day in a safe and happy environment. I did everything I could to protect everyone for 3 years and would have continued to do so until the very end. Hold fast, everyone. Less than a year to go. If you hear anything about my departure and have questions, you know how to reach me. I am an open book. I look forward to answering any question. 157 reactions, 32 comments. I just want to show you one in particular because it calls back. There's a lot of negative about Sean in there, but it says Mary Padula Lake. Now that is the person that claims that I am directly responsible for Sean Fagan being in the office. It says, "We are pulling for you to eliminate this incompetent clown of an elected official in the primary." Dude, it's for those of you listening, I apologize. I lost my place. Give me just a second to get back to it. Elected official in the primary, and regardless of the ultimate outcome, the people of the county and the employees will have a better leadership in that office. Fagan has to go. 100. So, as you guys can see, there are absolutely some interesting things going on here locally with our elected officials. Like I said, there's so much, but that is one example. And it is unfortunate that it has. Oh, wait, hold on. I got to give the other side of it. I did get a statement from the current prosecutor. I just have to find it now. Here it is. Okay. Oh, and let me read the statement first, and then I'm going to tell you guys who the new chief deputy of the office is. Statement from Sean Fagan, verbatim. "Regardless of politics, the people elected me to do my job, and that's my focus right now. Chuck was a valued part of the organization. I wish him all the best in what he does." End quote. Now, very nice.
Short, sweet.
Yeah. Now, do you remember the name that I asked you to keep in mind and the position? You guys remember?
Yeah. The three judge,
court, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if we look here, LaPorte County Prosecutor's Office. Let's see here at stage. Let's see if it's been changed yet. I'm not sure if the website has been changed because the website is awful. Let's see here. Here it is. Look at that. 3 days ago, there is a new chief deputy at the LaPorte County Prosecutor's Office. Oh, look at that.
Well,
His name happens to be Guy DiMartino, the guy running for the judge spot that allegedly Sean Fagan was intending to run for.
Yeah, those are always the fun things. Those are always the fun back and forths that
they are. You know. They are. And I was actually able to get something that I'm going to do a full show on because I think it's freaking wild. It's the salary, job classification, and salary analysis. Hope you guys can see that. It's reversed, but it's for all elected officials and from various counties, right? So let's see here. Okay, recorder, sheriff, assessor, auditor, clerk, commissioner, coroner, counsel, recorder, sheriff, surveyor, treasurer. Oh, I don't see the prosecutor on this list, unfortunately. But one interesting thing that I might have to flip my camera. I don't know if you guys can see. No, it's backwards. Anyway, the surveyor. Okay, there are two different kinds of surveyors in Indiana. One is registered. The other is non-registered. Okay, registered means you have your survey license. Non-registered means you don't. You got to farm the work out. Okay, right. Still an elected position, and it's not required to have a certification. So non-registered, right? The highest paid that I see just from the list I have is, now remember, non-registered, which means they have to farm the work out. Hamilton County, Indiana. How much do you guys think that person gets paid?
$75,000.
It would be I would say that would be well paid for someone who can't even actually do the survey work.
Right. I was going to guess more like 55.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, the one here in LaPorte County gets $26,800. They are the lowest paid in the list that I have here. The Hamilton County one, non-registered, gets $144,685.
I'm moving to Hamilton County.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I know where I need to go.
Right. The reason I have this is because our current surveyor is not pleased that he's getting paid so little in comparison to.
Yeah, $22,000 is really low.
That is very low. And
who determines their pay? Is it the county council?
Yes. And another interesting thing, they actually just took away the chief deputy role from the surveyor's office. He is the only elected official that no longer has a chief deputy. And there's a big long backstory that I'll spare you guys for. But the short version is they claimed that this could easily be handled by two part-time positions, one going to the drainage board, one staying in the office. It's our government has some problems, and I don't disagree that the two-party system has been in place for a long time, and it doesn't seem to be working.
No.
So I am all for independence. I am all for people putting their name on the ballot for whatever position. I think every position should have multiple people running for primaries with one exception. And that is when we have an incumbent, the more people in a primary, the more likely an incumbent gets right back into it.
That's true.
And so that's because there are so many people that just vote name recognition. It's been one of my focuses of the show since I started it is voter education, teaching people to learn about the candidates, to learn who they really are, what these people are like. Now, there have been instances where there have been people that, come onto my show in some cases, or I'll talk about in others, and I'll be like, okay, they sound pretty good. And then they turn out to be a gigantic steaming pile of Anyway, but you don't know, right? People are only going to show you what they want you to see. There is no guarantee, but it beats the hell out of just recognizing a name and checking a box.
Well, and I like what you do with your show. And again, I haven't watched. You have quite a bit of content. So
I've got a lot of episodes. I've been doing this.
I jumped around a little bit, and watched several episodes. A couple of the ones with your buddy. You guys have some good back and forth. That would be a fun one too. When we maybe if the next round table, if he wants to jump in, we can make this a Brady Bunch box right here. Yeah. And the thing about the nowadays though, and I know you and I were talking about it on the phone a little bit, prefacing this show, and I don't watch the news. I don't watch hardly anything regular TV. Right. I'm lucky to catch up on. I just caught up on Stranger Things just to finish it. It was fine. It was okay. It had its moments. But for the most part,
a lot of people are pissed about the Stranger Things ending.
Are you talking about the gay thing?
Not even that. Not even that. Just the way that you guys watch Critical Drinker.
No, I've heard of it though.
Okay, he's on YouTube. He's actually very entertaining at times, and he did a breakdown of the ending of Stranger Things, and he actually liked it. Right? He's like, was it perfect? No, but and he goes into other stuff. But there were a lot of people that didn't like the fact that certain things weren't wrapped up properly. And there were certain things that were, I guess, like, for example, the military just let all these people go.
Yes.
This massive incident, and it said stuff like that. I didn't watch it.
How many lives of government contractors?
Right.
That's typical. Yeah. That's typical of a show, though. I mean, if you look at how the Sopranos ended, Sons of Anarchy, look how that ended. It's
right. They have
it's always more disappointing than you think it should be.
Right. They got to end it somehow, and it's going to end, how the show runners want it to end. But there was this gigantic, I guess, social media hoax or something where they were like, oh, that was the fake ending. That was just what Vecna wanted you to see.
I did
Netflix actually had to come out and say, no, don't believe that. That's a hoax.
I wish they would have. I would have liked
That's
that.
What people said. They were like, that would have actually been kind of badass.
Yeah. That would have been cool. That way, I did see that. I did in passing catch that little conspiracy thing and watched it, and how the way that they're all sitting, the way that he sits, and the certain characters had glasses, and the shirt was not the right color. It was gray because gray was the disc, So there was some stuff with that, and then I saw a lot of AI videos kind of making fun of his like coming out thing, because of course it's a Netflix show, so they have to have at least one gay character,
of course.
Which is fine. I don't care that much at this point. It's it's going to happen,
right?
And I'm not, that was always one spot that I was very much more libertarian. Back in the day before gay marriage became legal, even when I was really entrenched in the Republican Party, I was one of the few guys that was like, I didn't want it to be done through the Supreme Court, because I thought that it would give legal precedence to have to have any sort of legal structure to your sexual identity. I wanted it to be done via either through congressional means, or I wanted it to be done as a law. But of course nobody had the balls to do it because it's politics. So even the ones that were pushing for it, Hillary was against it until she was for it. Obama was against it before he was for it. Honestly, really, Trump's the only president candidate that has been consistently pro gay marriage his entire life. If you want to say it what it is. So again, I was very like, meh, and so I don't like that was done through the Supreme Court, and also because you can have now the Supreme Court has more authority over it than they should, so they've deemed it unconstitutional. Well, all they have to do is get a different majority, and they can do the same thing that they did with Roe v. Wade, right? So if you want to die on that hill and you want to have abortion, then grow a set of balls and get in there and pass the fucking bill. But they don't want to do that because they get a lot of money and a lot of influence from people that don't like abortion.
Right. Right. And not only that, so it's just like the cannabis argument and the abortion outlaw together, right?
Right.
These people can run on these issues every time and not do anything about it.
Mhm.
So just really briefly, cannabis so I asked a state rep, Jim Pressel, at the latest meeting of the Republican Party. I said, hey, now that Washington has reclassified cannabis, is that going to change how Indiana views it? Nope. Not at all. It's not going to change anything, despite the fact that every governor we've had over the last 20 years has said the reason why we're not doing anything is because of the way it's, federally scheduled.
Yep, because they're all full of shit.
Absolutely not. These people are never, ever going to change it unless they are yanked out and we put people in who actually listen. And I don't give a shit whose party what letter they have behind their name. If you're not doing, dude, like, what was it? Like 67 to 70% of Hoosiers think we should at least legalize it for medical.
Yep. Well, and I just real quick pulled up because it is one of my things, not to get on the soapbox and get preachy and be the candidate, but it is number 2 of my 6 point TravisGearhart.com legalized cannabis. The only reason I pulled it up is because I have the numbers on it.
Okay, here we go.
Since Illinois in 2020 and Michigan in 2019 legalized recreational cannabis use, they have brought in an almost combined $4 billion in tax revenue. We are turning the other cheek morally because of a moral issue and turning away from $4 billion while Solid A and other Republicans want to increase the taxes on Americans by putting in toll roads, by increasing by adding a wheel tax, by increasing gas tax. They have all kinds of different things on there. So yeah. Don't sit there and tell me that. Yeah. Yep. You're looking at the same thing I am. Yeah, that's like I said, I have a very easy 6 point, and again, nothing on these are particularly. I didn't go through when I was putting together my ideas of what I cared about as a person. I'm both wanting to run and as a person that lives here, right? That has lived here my entire life, knowing what I've known over the years of how politics works. One of the main reasons that I did finally go with the Libertarian Party was I was going to run as an independent. And I talked to Mike Teleski, the Libertarian chair, and I was kind of kicking around with him. I'm like, I've always been a small L Libertarian. I don't know if and he kind of said, he's like, the biggest thing about it, he's like, really is that it's just like how it is with the Republicans and Democrats, right? It's a platform. Yeah. It's a place for you to go on there. He's like, obviously, he's just like everyone else. No one sits here at our luncheons that we have and everybody agrees 1,000% on everything.
Right.
There was a guy there that kind of gave me some shit about my point in there about wanting to end right to work, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was a nice guy. And I put together a thing and we talked about it and stuff. And we debated on some finer points. And then he goes, 5 out of 6, I'll take it. And that was, and that's the whole point. But the problem is that like you said earlier with the Republicans is that I always considered myself a Republican, and I don't want to speak for Keith, but I'm 99% sure that he'll agree with me on this. I always consider myself a Republican because of what they were supposed to stand for. And what? It might have taken me 20 years to finally, what's that Einstein's, what is it that Einstein said about, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. After 20 years of voting R and then being disenfranchised and not voting at all for several years, and but I was rooting from the sidelines, like I wanted Trump to do good. I was always happy when he said something that, pissed off, liberals and shit. That was always fun. Yeah, like what they say and what they do is always two totally separate things. And so that's why I do believe, I think that you need multiple parties, not just third party. I would love to see the socialists grow a set and leave the Democratic Party and make themselves a socialist party and make a far left party. I don't agree with them on almost anything, but that's fine. Like, do it. Do your thing.
That's the thing, is they used to have their own party, but they saw that didn't work. Right. Nobody elected, Communist Party of America. So they infiltrated the Democrat Party and are now pulling the strings. These are the same. And obviously we could talk for hours about the way that both parties have claimed this and then done this.
Well, there's no shortage of examples.
There's no shortage of examples, but I will say I'm going to be looking. I gotta, just so you guys know, and my viewers know this, I can't endorse you. I'm not going to say go vote for person, and right. I can't. I'm a registered Republican. I'm not a candidate anymore, but I'm a registered Republican, and by assisting someone running for office for a different party, whether that's Democrat or Libertarian, they can remove me from the party, which at this point, I don't give a fuck. Go for it. But as a Republican, not in good standing, I wouldn't be able to try to change things from the ground level. I would never, ever, ever tell people who to vote for. All I do is get people from all parties. Everyone is welcome on the show to come on and have a discussion and talk about what they're passionate about. I will say that I'm going to pay close attention to this election, and hopefully I'll get the opportunity to get your opponents on as well. I'd love to have them on, but we're going to have you back on by yourself for your actual candidate introduction and show. And I hope that we can do this again.
Yeah. I absolutely want to do this again. And again, not wanting to speak for Keith, because
I thought this was fun. I wouldn't mind putting together a little round table with a few Republicans, the disenfranchised crew, get a couple Democrats on there.
Absolutely.
We could talk about like State of the Union address, State of the State address.
Yeah, that was one thing Keith was bringing up, that like maybe for like big events, if we did something, like we got that would be great. Tonight we got the State of the Union. We're watching it in real time, and you can get some back and forth, and then we can all give our, like a Fox News panel, but less retarded.
Yeah,
pretty much.
You have the View on the daytime. Nobody watches that shit.
Right.
And, later on, you got the 5 on Fox. I wouldn't mind doing something like that, dude.
Yeah. I think it'd be a good time. One of the things that I've said consistently since starting the show is there are not enough examples of reasonable people from different sides of the aisle sitting down to have a reasoned discussion about current events. We need more of that. So it was truly a pleasure. We're pushing an hour 40. This time kind of flew by. But again, I'd love to have you guys back on. Stick around, and we'll get you guys the recording.
Sounds good.
Make sure that you get it, and talk to you after the show.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys. We had Keith Cunningham and Travis Gearhart from Disenfranchised Podcast. I'm going to throw it up here one more time. You guys make sure you get the spelling right. Disenfranchised Podcast. They're on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify, or you can go direct to their website, disenfranchisedpodcast.com. We're going to get Travis back on here for his actual candidate. We'll cover his platform, see what he thinks, and watch the social media for the page, and also visit our webpage where Michael Beebe does a great job keeping us updated on who's going to be there. There are links to all my social media there, live feeds. He has it all, man. He's a rock star. He's the whole reason why I even do this. For those of you who have been with me since the beginning, I told you then, a friend of mine said, "You're doing a podcast." That's the guy. He takes care of my stuff behind the scenes. And so that's why you'll see on the splash screen at the end, I added him as an executive producer because he's done a lot. He really has. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. I appreciate your time. Like always, go to DionBergeron.com, or if it's easier to spell, DionsDailyDose.com. They'll both take you to the same place, and you guys will be able to see what's coming up. Without further ado, God bless you, God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. We'll talk to you again real soon. Good night. Well, that was supposed to go much cleaner, but I forgot to put something on there. So there you go.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2024. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.